Welcome to the Lane Community College Equity Lens presentation. Slide. We are going to give you an introduction to the Equity Lens Toolkit in this presentation. Slide. My name is Greg Evans, and I'm an Associate Vice President for Equity and Inclusion at Lane Community College.
My name is Tracy Weimer. I'm the Project Coordinator for the Office of Equity and Inclusion.
Slide. So this particular slide shows you how to access the Equity Lens Toolkit online. Please go to www.lanecc.edu/diversity, and you will be able to access the Equity Lens Toolkit and presentation. Slide. Slide. Let's unpack the Equity Lens Toolkit. Equity Lens Toolkit is inclusive of the following values, objectives, and direction. Diversity values, strategic direction, strategic objectives, key strategies, principal outcomes, and equity lens models. Slide. Diversity values. To ensure we realize our stated college values and actualize access, equity, and inclusion across the college, we are building and implementing an equity lens. We will be identifying and supporting best practices for equity-related initiatives with a strong commitment to equal employment and educational opportunity in all activities, programs, and services. Slide. Our strategic direction. In order to fully realize Lane's commitment to these outcomes, we will develop a social justice framework, the Equity Lens, to guide our work. This framework will provide structures, systems, and support for advancing individual and collective growth and cultural fluency, agility, and competency across the institution. Bringing stakeholder groups together to identify and remedy barriers to social justice at LCC. Improving recruitment and retention of diverse students and staff. Increasing the range, scope, and depth of diversity, equity, and inclusion curriculum. Demonstrating leadership in social justice. Slide. Our strategic objectives. Integrate principles of social justice throughout the college learning and working environment. Develop a culture of inclusivity and respect through dialogue, outreach, education, and equitable policies and practices. Improve recruitment, retention, and support of diverse students, faculty, staff, and managers. Slide. Here's some of the key strategies of the Office of Equity and Inclusion. Create and implement a social justice equity framework, which is the Equity Lens. Provide cultural competency, professional development opportunities. Institute diversity orientation and development for students and staff. Improve recruitment and retention of diverse students and staff. Slide. So here are our principal outcomes. What are we building? Access, opportunity for everyone who wishes to participate in the college. Equity, fair and just opportunities for all employees and students to reach their academic and professional potential. Inclusion, a sense of belonging as a valued member of decision-making at and life of the college. Slide. Let's take a closer look. Equity lens models previously developed have had a single focus, usually race. Ours will be more broad and inclusive. Another unique feature of Lane's equity lens is that we will include both students and employees. Slide. So, our model. Here's Lane's equity lens tool worksheet. Slide. And you can see from this graphic, on the left-hand column, we have a snapshot of Lane's equity lens inquiry and questions. On the right-hand side, our perspective is a non-exclusive listing of the populations that the equity lens is designed to address. Slide. Equity Lens Toolkit. We begin with frame the question or item under scrutiny. What is the issue, policy, or process being examined? Who is conducting this analysis? Who is at the table for this discussion? And we include 6 inquiry questions. Frame the outcome of applying the equity lens, including even small gains toward inclusion. What is the decision or action that will be taken in relation to the issue, policy, or process? Document interim plans and information gathering tasks. Slide. 1. Who is affected by content and current framing of this policy, program, practice, or decision? What are the potential impacts? Slide. 2. How does this policy, program, practice, decision-making process, or decision increase access, equity, and inclusion? How does it produce or worsen any disparities? Slide. 3. Who is being impacted by this decision-making process? How have stakeholders been intentionally invited to and empowered to participate in the decision-making process or practice? Slide. 4. What are the barriers to more equitable outcomes around this policy, program, practice, decision-making process, or decision? Slide. 5. How will members of the college community identify, address, and mitigate negative impacts and the barriers identified previously? How will you support this work? Slide. And 6, how can we, as members of the college community, create an environment and culture that fosters healing and reconciliation to transform our structures, environments, and ourselves? Slide. Here's a perspective. Remember that the equity lens is a means of inquiry and should never be used as a justification for a predetermined outcome. Be mindful and transparent when assigning weight to the needs of any single group, especially as any single group over any other. Consider relationships, alliances, and social capital that might be affected by the decision, policy, or process being considered. Values won't be represented as groups or individuals in your analysis, but if the decision-making body has agreed upon values, it is a good idea to make them explicit and name them at the beginning of the equity lens analysis slide. Once again, you have a copy of the graphic. On the left-hand side is our equity lens tool. On the right-hand side, you will see from a perspective a list, a non-inclusive list of all of the communities that the equity lens is designed to serve. Slide, please. Equity lens tools and additional resources. So one, LCC Diversity Council and the Equity Lens Implementation Team. You can go to the link, Lane's Equity Lens Toolkit, to access that information. Two, the Higher Ed Education Coordinating Commission. You can access their tool by the link with Oregon's Equity Lens. Three, Portland Public Schools has a racial equity lens, and you can access it by clicking on the link, Racial Equity and Social Justice Lens. And four, Multnomah County has an equity lens, and again, the focus is on race. The link that you want to go to is Equity and Empowerment Lens. Slide. Once again, here's a roadmap for the Equity Lens Toolkit online. Go to www.lanecc.edu/diversity. And you can access our Equity Lens Toolkit from this page on our website. Slide. Please email your questions and comments to equity@lanecc.edu.